Now, speaking of the region's development, the Niger Delta Development Commission has for decades played a pivotal role in driving infrastructure development, empowerment, and economic progress across the communities. But how far has the Commission come, and what impact are the interventions truly making with its main goal of addressing environmental degradation, infrastructure decay, and socio-economic challenges caused by oil exploration? Today, we'll bring you an exclusive interview with Executive Director of Finance and Administration at the NDDC in the person of Honorable Boma Iyaye as he opens up on the Commission's milestones, the challenges faced, and the way forward for sustainable growth in the region. We now join one of ADBN's finest, Jennifer Pius, in Port Harcourt, as the conversation will offer rare insights into how the NDDC is transforming lives and landscapes of the Niger Delta. Over to you, Jennifer.
And on this special edition, we're having a chat with the Director of Finance and Administration for Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. I'm talking about Boma Iyaye. Welcome to Niger Delta Today. It's indeed an honor to get to have a chat with you to talk about how the NDDC has fared so far, considering that the NDDC will be marking 25 years anniversary, and it's been remarkable indeed, and we need to understand the trajectory, the journey so far. And let's begin by knowing the significance of the NDDC and how it has fared for the last 25 years.
Oh, well, first, let me thank you for having me this pretty afternoon. Oh, well, your question is, how has NDDC fared in the last 25 years? I think that's the question. Oh, well, I don't want to be the one to blow the trumpet of this present board. For us, I mean, we are just doing a job that has been assigned to us. I will prefer that the people of the Niger Delta are allowed to judge us, to be able to state if we have done well in the past 18 months that we have been in the saddle. We came on board in 2023, precisely on the 16th of November 2023, after the appointment of Mr. President, His Excellency Ahmed Tinubu, the President of Nigeria, who graciously appointed us on the 30th of August as members designate for the 7th governing board of the NDDC. And on the 16th of November, after the inauguration by the Honorable Minister of the then Niger Delta Development Ministry, we took over office, and since then we've tried our best to make sure that we reposition the NDDC to what it is today. Prior to we coming on board as members of the 7th national members of the 7th governing board, the atmosphere, the welfare, the morale of workers, and not only workers, including contractors and service providers in the commission, was very low. However, when we came on board, we had to prioritize first welfare of staff. 2, we had to make sure that projects that have been abandoned for the past 10-12 years have to be rejuvenated and started all over again to make sure that such projects are finished. Those projects, we term them as legacy projects, but I'm sure during the course of the interview we will go back to those projects. But since we came on board, we have made sure that the welfare of staff is paramount. We have been able to pay salaries as when due, not just salaries. Salaries is basic. We have also been able to ensure that our staff receive all approved welfare packages, welfare allowances approved by the federal government. They receive them as at and when due. That is the only way we can get total commitment of the workers, and we have been able to do that successfully. So you see that the morale of NDDC staff is very high. Prior to this period, a lot of persons were seeking transfers out of NDDC because they were not receiving salaries as at and when due, allowances were not being paid, and there were a lot of issues. But when we came on board and we decided to prioritize salaries of workers, welfare of workers, you see that we have been having several demands and requests from people of the region in other ministries and other parastatals and other agencies wanting to come to NDDC to serve. So that will tell you a lot of what we've been able to achieve in the past 18 months. In terms of projects, you can see that we have prioritized a lot of projects, not just ongoing projects, not new projects that have been awarded. No, we have projects that we term as legacy projects, iconic projects that are in different states of the region. We have been able to kickstart most of them. These projects were abandoned before now. We've been able to kickstart them, make sure that contractors go back to site and then get payments, and the most important thing, let the region get the value for whatever payments that we make. So I can tell you some of these projects. I mean, I don't want to even go about telling you about the projects that we have commissioned in the past 18 months. But let me tell you some of these iconic projects that are going on. There's the project that we call the Car Ataba Bridge, over 3 kilometers of bridge on the sea. It's ongoing right now, and that project hopefully will be completed before the end of the year. That project was abandoned by previous administrations, but when we came back, we saw the need for that project and we have kickstarted it. The Borokri Okrika Bridge is another major bridge, about
bridge that will take traffic off the major roads of Port Harcourt from the Borokri end to Okrika. Okrika is a local government in Rivers State. That project has been kickstarted. There are several other projects not within Rivers State, outside Rivers State. Talk about major projects. Look at the Bonny Ring Road project that we have kickstarted. That too is a project that we're doing in partnership with the Nigerian liquefied natural gas. So such major iconic projects have been kickstarted again. And that is some of the legacies that we intend to leave behind as a board.
Okay. But let's, because you're talking about legacy projects, and I understand that there are also some notable activities of the NDDC, one of which is they just concluded Niger Delta Sports Festival. What really motivated this, and what's the future for those young talents that has been discovered?
Oh, well, this question is a question that has occurred several times, especially prior to the hosting of the Niger Delta Sports Festival. But it's a very good question, and it's something that is apt, especially I served as the chairman of the organizing committee, the main organizing committee of the Niger Delta Sports Festival. So it's very appropriate that you ask this question. Now, you will agree with me that 60%, 70% of the athletes, footballers that represent Nigeria as a nation are from the Niger Delta. You cannot question that. We have the facts, we have the records, and everybody knows that. And being the region that produces these athletes and these footballers, we felt as a commission that we need to intervene in that sector, the sporting sector, because we can see the diminishing return of our prowess as a nation in athletics, in football, and so on. See how poorly performed our country did during the Olympic Games. They just concluded Olympic Games. See the All-African Games, we couldn't perform very well. So with that in mind, we as a commission felt that we needed to intervene in that sector. Since we produce about 60% of the athletes and footballers, we needed to intervene in that sector. And how do we intervene? We saw that there was diminishing athletes being produced by the region. After the likes of the beautiful queen from Delta State, that represented Nigeria, Blessing Okabule and the rest of them, we found out that there has been some gap between the outgoing athletes and the incoming ones. So we felt we needed to discover new athletes. And how do we do that? We felt the most important opportunity or competition that can bring together the athletes of this region was the Niger Delta Sports Festival, which was the first of its kind in Nigeria. No region has ever hosted a sports festival peculiar to the region. So we're the first to do it in our country, and we believe that what we have done will stand the test of time. Over 500 athletes were discovered in this championship. Now, the next question will be, what are we going to do with these athletes? We have discovered them. We want to nurture them. We want to groom them, and so that in the next 5 to 10 years, these athletes will be ready to represent Nigeria in international competitions. So that is what we have been able to do. This is one of the best programs that NDDC has come up with. The youths were purely involved. The youths were fully involved. We had a competition that was between the ages of 16 to 25, which meant that you have youths purely involved in them. And we had about 17 categories of different sporting events. All of them were well participated in, and athletes have been churned out from that competition. Like I said, we'll put them together, nurture them, and hand them over to our country.
Okay, and we understand that a major boost to all activities is finance. And as Director of Finance and Administration, can you put us through on how money is sourced for these activities? And I remember there's always been the public-private partnership. How is that going for the interventionist agency?
Well, first, before I go into answering the question about funding of some of these activities and projects, I want to say that the sports festival was able to transfer an opportunity for the Niger Delta youths. We were able to create careers for them. We were able to create career opportunities for them because we as a commission believe in the power of sports. With sports, you can do anything. With sports, you can create opportunities for yourself. With sports, you can create careers for yourself. With sports, you can become the most famous person in the world. And that's why we went ahead to host that sporting festival. Now I'm talking about funding of the sporting festival and other activities of the commission. Well, naturally, I would like to say that we have what we call the statutory contribution from the federal government. NDDC is being funded by the federal government of Nigeria. There's a law which was signed into law in the year 2000, precisely on the 12th of July 2000. That law made it compulsory for the federal government to contribute 15% of the entire derivation from the states of the Niger Delta region to the NDDC. Yes, that's a question for another day. Are we receiving the 15%? That's a question for another day. But as it is today, the NDDC is funded by the federal government and 3% contribution from the oil companies, their budgets for the year. Well, yes, you also mentioned about private-public partnership. Oh, very well. That is also a major source of funding. Like during the sports festival, we had partnerships from all over the region and the country entirely. We had people like Premium Trust Bank, which was our lead sponsor. We had people like Boma Iyaye, who contributed some amount of money, and several other companies contributed money to fund the sports festival. So it's not all about Niger Delta Development Commission contributing the money. It was a public-private partnership, and it was successful. We will build on it, believing that in the next edition, we will get more of private funds than the public funds.
Okay, then could you walk us through on the annual budget of NDDC?
how does it work? And in cases of priority, let's take for instance, something happens which the agency needs to step in to intervene. How do they handle situations of that kind?
Well, the annual budget of the commission, like you asked, it's prepared by the Budget and Planning Department of the NDDC. When it goes through that process, the entire states make contribution. 9 states of the Niger Delta make the contributions into that budget, depending on what their priorities are, which projects are priority for them. They make their contributions in that budget, and that budget will go through scrutiny by the management committee of the commission. Having gone through that scrutiny, it will be sent to the board to approve it. After the board approves it, it goes to the National Assembly. It is through the National Assembly that this budget is prepared, appropriated, and churned out and signed for the commission to utilize. So that's the process, that the simple budgeting process that the NDDC budget goes through.
And on the priority, how do you handle cases where an issue comes up which demands the
Oh yes, yeah. That is very good. Like I said from the beginning, NDDC was set up as an interventionist agency. What does that mean? Apart from the budgetary provisions, we have XYZ projects in the budget. Those projects will be implemented during the course of the year. But apart from such projects, we intervene in several sectors. We intervene in education, we intervene in medical field, that's health, we intervene in sports, we intervene in road construction, we intervene in provision of water. Several areas that we intervene in. And how do we intervene? If there's a critical situation that needs an urgent attention, which is not provided for in the budget, then we must intervene. We cannot fold our hands. For example, recently there was cholera breakout in the Niger Delta, in Boni, in Degema, and in several other communities of the Niger Delta. So are we going to just fold our hands to say because it is not in our budget, we cannot do anything about it? No. Some amount of monies have been provided in the budget for such purposes. So we will use that opportunity to intervene in such projects. Make sure that our people are okay, make sure that whatever caused the cholera outbreak is stopped. If it is water and whatever it is, we'll make sure that we take care of the situation. That's how we intervene.
Okay. As much as the activities of the NDDC is highly commendable, one aspect is ensuring accountability and transparency. Whenever we talk of money, people's ears will always get looking to open up, and there's always interest. So how does the NDDC ensure transparency and accountability when it comes to their spendings?
Well, our books are there for the whole world to see. At the end of every year, we have what we call the audit process. Auditors come not only from the federal government, as from the Auditors General's office. We also have our own auditors that come to check into our books and make sure that we have followed standard principles of accounting to the fullest. And to say that how transparent is this process, you will see that apart from these auditors that come, for any payment to go through in the commission, that payment must have gone through due process. What do I mean by due process? It must have gone through several departments. Depending on where the project or the payment is emanating from, it will go through a lot of tables, if I can say so, or a lot of desk officers before it can finally be approved by the managing director, who is the chief executive officer, and then it will be executed by the executive director of finance, and payments will be made. So our processes are very transparent and clear. Depending on where the project or the payment is emanating from, it goes through a lot of processes, not just one, not just two, not just three. it goes through a lot of processes before it will get to our internal audit department, which will also agree to whatever the payments are or the issues are. Then they will process it to the managing director. If it is a project, for example, if it is a project that is being awarded, after going through due process in the procurement department, the contractor or whoever is the service provider goes to field. After he has finished, he comes for evaluation. The project monitoring department is there. The utilities department is there under the executive director of projects. These departments will go and inspect these projects. Having inspected these projects, they will come up with evaluation of the project. That is what we call the interim payment certificate. That certificate will go through a lot of processes too before it is finally signed by the executive director of projects. And when it is signed by the executive director of projects, it goes to the managing director, who will also verify again with his own internal machinery to ensure that that project was concluded and has been completed. And he will now minute it or further execute it to the director of finance for processing of payment. So that's the process, and that process is very transparent. It's there for everybody to see. It's there clearly for whoever is interested. You can come and look at our books. We're there for you to come.
Okay, the Niger Delta Development Commission captures 9 states, and it means that the interest of these 9 states has to be captured in all the projects and interventions carried out by the NDDC. But then how is the allocation made of projects allocated to each of these states? Is there like a sharing formula, or there's a proportion, or is it based on the needs? And
very good question, and I'm sure it's either you're very keen follower of the Niger Delta region, or you must have been following what goes on in the Niger Delta Development Commission. That's why you'll be able to ask such a beautiful question. It's clear, very clear and simple for everybody who is interested and all persons of the Niger Delta region to know how we go about allocation of projects. It doesn't fall from the sky. There are clear procedures that we follow. For example, we consider equality of states. By equality of state, we mean every state in the region is equal. So there's a percentage that is allocated to equality of states. So, for example, River States, all the states, when we say if it is 20% equality of states, so every state will have 20% of the entire projects for that budget season. After equality of state, the most important criteria that we adopt in the allocation of projects is what we refer to as production share. What do I mean by production share? Production share means how much of the oil you contribute to the federal government. As of today, Delta State has the highest production share, followed by Akwa Ibom, then Bayelsa, then Rivers. That is the production share. Before it goes down to Edo, Ondo, Imo, and Abia. So that is the production share. So depending on your production share, you will be allocated the percentage of projects allocated to you based on your production share. So that is the major criteria, apart from the equality of state, that we use.
Delayed funding or delayed release of funds, maybe from the federal government or other partners. How does the board manage such issues such that whatever project that has to be carried out is still carried out in due time?
Yeah, of course, there'll be, budgets are just mere estimates. They're not cast on stone. Not because we budget for 10 billion naira, for example, or 100 billion naira, for example, in the year 2025, we will receive 100 billion naira from the federal government. No. Whatever we receive, we try to manage it in such a way that projects are catered for, because projects are priority for us. we must intervene in these critical projects in the Niger Delta region. So if there is delay in funding, we depend on we can fall back on our savings. Because we earn X amount of money every year does not mean that we will spend X amount of money on projects and other overheads. No, we have what we call savings. So we will fall back to our savings to make sure that we get some money from the savings and continue to run the commission or fund the projects. So by the time we're done with that utilization of the savings, I'm sure the federal government monies will come, or the 3% oil derivation contribution from the oil companies will come. So that's how we'll be managing the commission. We are not opportuned to have access to commercial bank loans because we operate in a system of TSA, where our banking transactions go through only the central bank. So we do not have opportunities to seek for loans from commercial banks. That is one other challenge that we have. If probably we have opportunities to relate with commercial banks or have transactions with them, we'll probably have loans as external funding options, but we don't have such options because we don't have access to such options. We depend solely on the federal government contribution, the oil companies' contribution, and our savings.
Okay, and then what is the relationship like with state governors, with the NDDC? And do they also have their input when it comes to selection of projects or the kind of project and where it should be situated? Are there cases where there have been maybe delay on their part in their own counterpart funding, or are there cases like that, and how is that being managed?
Well, as part of our private-public partnership, we have partnerships with some states. For example, we have partnership with Imo State. There are certain projects that we're doing together, NDDC and Imo State. So such partnerships exist. But apart from that, there's no contribution from states to the NDDC. Their contributions are processed through the 15% derivation that we get directly from the federal government. And so what we do in terms of project conceptualization, what we do is that our budget departments work with the state reps. Who are the state reps? They are like the commissioners who represent states' interest in the board. So every state has a representative, which you can also refer to them as state commissioners in the board. So we work with them to make sure that they make their own input during the budgeting process. Such inputs are collected from them, and it is expected that the state reps will always refer back to the governors or the states where they come from for input. So it is after then that all the projects will come to the head office for conceptualization. So that's how we work with them, and we believe that that process is complementary. It is not a competitive situation where you say NDDC is doing this or this state government is doing that. No, we complement each other because it's all about the people, it's all about development, it's all about intervening in critical sector.
Okay, and I look at also the medical outreach by NDDC. It's one of the projects or activity by the NDDC that has received so much accolades. And the question is on how sustainable is the medical outreach, because we understand the NDDC takes care of medical bills, and we know how in so many places they have dire medical cases, and the NDDC takes care of that. How sustainable is that?
Well, medical is very important to our people. That is because health, they say, is wealth. It's only a healthy man that can contribute meaningfully to society. If you're in the hospital, what will you do to society? So we prioritize the health of our we prioritize the health of the persons that come from this region. And so, as part of our programs for our region, we have what we call medical outreach. What is this medical outreach? It is a process by which the commission brings together medical doctors, health workers, and then go around the region for medical outreach. This medical outreach program has been very successful. It's one of our most successful programs because when these outreaches go out, they conduct even surgeries, eye surgeries, appendicitis, what kind of any kind of surgery that you can name, they conduct such surgeries. Ordinarily, probably, our people will not have access to medical facilities, but because we take this outreach to them, they have opportunities, and it has been very successful. You can go and do an independent investigation. Forget about what I say here. Go to the villages, go to the communities in the Niger Delta region and ask where these medical outreaches have taken place. What is the successful rate? You will hear for yourself, and then you come back and tell me that yes, what I told you was true.
Well, we've heard so much, and it's been the NDDC Light Up project, which so many commendations have come in for the NDDC on that particular project. But then let's also look at what we'll be looking forward to seeing, especially as the 25th anniversary is approaching. What should the people of the Niger Delta region look forward to? What should they be expecting from this board?
Very well. Thank you for that question. We're in the season of celebration. We're in the season of the 25th anniversary celebration of the Niger Delta Development Commission. We started this year 2025 with the celebration of our 25th anniversary. NDDC was created and founded on the 12th of July 2000, year 2000. And if you calculate year 2000 to 2025, it's exactly 25 years. And you will want to ask the next question, why are we celebrating? We want to tell our own story. We want to tell the world, we want to tell the Nigerian nation what we have been able to achieve in these 25 years. Because the story out there is negative, we needed to change the narrative by telling our own story, what we have been able to achieve. A lot has been achieved. If I start here to reel out what has been achieved by the Niger Delta Commission, we will not leave this interview set. But I will allow you to go through the archives, go through the what do you call them? The social media, and see what we have been able to achieve in these past 25 years. But notably, we want to celebrate making a difference, because this board has made a lot of difference from the old boards. So we want to celebrate that difference that we have made, which is the talk show, where we will have dignitaries of the Niger Delta, where we will have our founding fathers of the Niger Delta to come together to see, to criticize what the commission has done, to provide a way forward and what will be next for Niger Delta in the next 25 years, to create that path for the next 25 years. That event will also come up in July, precisely I think the 12th of July. So these are some of the programs that we have. We have what we call the Arts and Cultural Day. We have what we call the Youth and Women's Day. All these are celebrations that have been lined up for the 25th anniversary. And we also have a movie premiere. There's a movie that is going through production now, which will showcase what the Niger Delta was and what it is today, and what we expect that the Niger Delta would be 25 years coming. So that movie will also be premiered somewhere, I think in Asaba or Warri. I'm not too sure about that now. But these are some of the programs that we have lined up, and you will see the beauty of the Niger Delta. You will see that the Niger Delta is truly the region that provides 90% of the revenue that the entire country is benefiting from. You will see a lot when it comes to the celebration of the 25th anniversary.
Okay, and we do join in the celebration. We hope to be part of the activities to also capture that, because on Niger Delta Today, what we do is project the Niger Delta region, change the narrative, project the activities of the people, their culture, their tradition, and even the politics of the people. We hope to be part of it as well. And we do appreciate your time on the program, sharing insights of the NDDC and the activities. Thank you so much, sir. We do appreciate that.
Thank you very much for having me today. And like you said, you will be part of the celebration. And because we need people like you, we need the media to tell the story of the Niger Delta. It is high time that we take our own step to tell our own story, not outsiders telling our story for us. Thank you for having me this afternoon, and I want to join you to continue to support the Niger Delta Development Commission and see how we can provide development for our region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, it's been a wonderful time chatting with the Director of Finance and Administration in the NDDC, giving us the time to get to know about insights of activities in the NDDC. And of course, with the upcoming event of the 25th anniversary lineup of activities. Thank you so much for being a part, and let's head back to the studio.
So much, Jennifer, for that intuitive session with the Executive Director of the NDDC in the person of Honorable Boma Iyaye. I know the people of the Niger Delta will clamor for more, but we must give kudos to the NDDC for all they have achieved over the years, especially in the last 18 months under Dr. Ogbuku. This is a fine place to leave it for today. We hope you join us tomorrow for another fresh episode.